Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming, Mr. Donovan. First of all, I'd probably be remiss if I didn't compliment your Buzz Osley in your Orlando office.
Thank you.
Been a great asset to our office, been a great asset to educating the public in my district, how to stay out of trouble, and if you're in trouble with your mortgage, how to best handle it. Great job down there helping educate the public and mitigate losses.
Thank you. I'll let him know.
A couple questions. What are you doing to prosecute the fraud that you've discovered that helped put us into this undesirable position we're in now?
We are working very closely with the Department of Justice. We obviously don't do the prosecuting ourselves. The Department of Justice represents us. We have active cases against a range of lenders. A good example of that is TBW, which was not only one of the larger FHA lenders, but also a large Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac lender. We discovered, working closely with our Inspector General, serious problems, including fraud, in the work that they were doing with FHA lending.
Okay.
And
just because time is limited, I'm going to ask if you would send me a memo and brief me on
Absolutely.
that, the number of cases, the scope of it, and then I'll follow up that with you on that. Do you see any needed improvement in the REO process?
One thing I would just mention related to the enforcement, we have legislative changes that we would like to pursue with the committee that we'd love to work with you on to improve our ability to go after lenders and kick them out of the program when they're not doing their job. So that is an important next step.
You'll get 100% from both sides of the aisle on that, I promise
and
you.
we have worked well with the committee on that.
Back to REO. I only have 3 minutes.
REO, we are working closely with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We asked for ideas from the public of new things that we could do to improve our REO processes. We expect by the first quarter of next year to be able to implement some new pilots around our work on REO to improve those processes.
If you issue any bulletins on that, I'd like to be kept in the loop. On paper, it's a pretty attractive process. On the ground, in reality, it's devastating. It's very inefficient. It causes you greater losses than you would sustain otherwise, harms neighborhoods to a much greater degree than would otherwise happen if that process were streamlined, more effective, allowed more people to participate in it. Like I say, on paper it really looks good, but I think on ground level, from my observation at least, it needs to be vastly improved and can't even wait a year for that. What effect do you think it would have to make FHA loans full recourse loans?
I think you could argue about the amount, but there's no question they would be substantially more expensive. And in exchange for that, I think there would be some potential improvement in performance. It's hard. Various people have modeled in different ways. It's hard to predict how significant that would be.
I'd like, if you have any data on that in your office, I'd appreciate it if you'd send it to me if anyone has prognosticated what would happen there. And I wonder if there's somehow you might even make the awareness. I've heard it said by many people, the point made by many people, and most recently by former Senator Graham, that we hear a lot of people are upside down in their mortgages. And he compares that to somebody driving a new car off the car lot. The second they drive off, if they financed a car, they're upside down in their car too. That doesn't mean it makes good sense to abandon a car and go buy another one. And so I just wonder if there's some way you might initiate that in your education program. I know there's so-called financial advisors telling people, hey, if you're underwater, walk away. If you're underwater, walk away. And that doesn't help, really, at the end of the day, anybody. If people would hang in there a little bit better, probably, like they do their automobile, just view it a little bit differently. I just think there's a negative propaganda being perpetrated to a large part of the population, and no positive information coming from the other way to put it into proper perspective, more reality. I believe, and I'm sure you've read the book, Reckless Endangerment. Would have been a good title for a former Congress, but you know, the authors of that book believe that the worst of this market is still ahead of us. We've been unable to get anybody from the Department of the Treasury to tell us whether or not they think we've bottomed out, to give us any real information. The people that we think are the most knowledgeable about it cannot give us that information. I'd appreciate any insight that you have. I see my time is up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Happy to follow up.
All right. With that, Mr. Kep.